Alright guys, we are back with some more MX versus ATV Legends. Today we're going to be checking out the bike tuning and whipping bike setup, I guess. And before we start the video, I do want to show you the bike setup that I usually have when I play the game. This Kx 450 is set up the way I like to have the bike tuned. So this is the setup I normally would use, and I will show you the exact setup here in a second. But before we do that, I do want to show you I have two bikes set up in a very specific way. So we have a Husky set up for traction and braking. I know it's an extreme, but I want to show you how it works, and then if you decide you kind of like it, you can, adjust on it to make it the way you want it to be. But this is for traction and brakes, and the KTM is suspension and handling. Now, I did say we'd show you the exact parts that we have for the tuning. And so everything is level 3 to the right, except for the tires and the brakes. The tires are level 2. And the brakes are level 1 on the right side. So that's the only difference I might have from most of you. Probably most of you have it to where everything is like level 3 on the right side. This is how I have it set up. So go ahead and try it. Let me know if it works for you or if it doesn't. Okay, so we're going to talk about the setups and go over each specific setup we have here. This is the Husky. This bike is set up for traction and braking. Now, this bike did not corner very good. The way it's set up, it would work so much better on a motocross track, just an outdoor track. The bigger, wide open, sweeping corners, where you don't have to turn super sharp and square a corner off, it would work a lot better. Here in Supercross, the tight 180 bull turns can be tough to take if you use this specific setup, but it does eliminate a lot of the slipping and sliding around. It doesn't completely get rid of it. No matter what you do, the way the game is right now, no matter what you do, the slip and slide is going to be there to some degree. There is stuff you can do, excuse me, there is stuff you can do to make it better, such as this bike setup. Gets rid of a lot of the sliding, but it doesn't completely eliminate it. And it also gives you more preload than such as this bike, the KTM, where we have it set up for suspension and handling. This bike doesn't have as good of a preload because of the way it's set up, but you can control it so much better. Yes, it is very, 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 very slippery compared to the KTM. Or not the KTM, the Husky. Very slippery. It was worse, but I had been playing with this bike on this track for quite a while and just kind of got used to it. It does work for Supercross pretty good. But yeah, this is like the most slippery the bike can be for the most part. But you can corner the bike way sharper. You can whip the bike a lot better. It's a give and take. If you want to have a stable bike that doesn't slip all over the place, you can't whip or move the bike around in the air. It's just you get something, but you have to give up something. And then we have the Kawasaki the Kx 450 here. This is the bike that has the setup that I use, so it's kind of in the middle. I would say it leans a little bit more towards the stiff suspension, so the KTM, but it doesn't slide as much, and you can still square off corners and turn down and still use it in Supercross, with the tighter turns. But you'll have to let me know in the comments how you guys have your bikes or quads set up. I'm pretty sure the quad is different. I think I ended up having a bunch of the tuning to the left instead of the right. So yeah, I know we hit some bigger lines here, but that isn't because of my bike setup. You could do it with the other bike setups. That's just how you know, I'm comfortable with this bike, so, and this tuning, and so we felt good on the track and rode it pretty decent. But yeah, it's just kind of an in-between, the bike setup we have. Now, I do show you Bighorn here and the Husky. So this is, again, the bike that is for all traction and braking. You can still hit the inside lines on the track. You can use it in Supercross. It works. It's just tougher. I do feel like this setup soaks up some of the small stuff a bit better. So the suspension would be softer, technically, I think. And it just feels like it soaks up the small bumps on the track a tiny bit better. But, again, you can't turn as easy. And the bike, you're not going to be... You can still whip, but if you thought whipping was tough with a better bike setup for it, you're going to think it's really tough with this bike setup. If you don't care about whipping and you can't stand how slippery it is, maybe this setup will work for you. But, again, it doesn't completely eliminate it. It always is there to some degree. It's just the way the game was made and the way the game plays. And people have been asking how we don't slip and slide around the track. We do. We do. You see it in videos, but I probably have more hours in the game than most of you. And the other thing that helps, I've told some of you in the comments, but besides bike setup, you should brake a bit sooner, a bit earlier than you think you should. And then try to get back on the gas a bit sooner. You know, when you, if you're about to push over the top of a corner, if you're not going too fast, you can get back on the throttle, and it kind of starts to hook back up, and you don't slide as bad. But the end here is just some whipping, and I know we're not very good at whipping in any game. I've said before, we get criticized pretty heavily for not whipping enough in these games, and I do apologize. It just isn't something... I like it, of course, but, you know, I just like playing the tracks and feeling the flow and, you know, whatever. So, my whips might not be very good, but the point of this video for the whipping is that I've seen some people say you can't whip at all in the game. You can't throw the back end of the bike out, whatever. That just isn't true. We're doing it right here. We're 100% doing it right here. Yes, the rotation... The reason I use the 450 is because the rotation on the 450 is the slowest in the game. So I do have the 250 two-stroke to show you. That bike has a much higher, quicker rotation for whipping than the 450. The 450 rotates the slowest, so they didn't want you to whip off of every jump, I don't think. I'm pretty sure that's why we have the quick scrub. So if you did the tutorial, if you did career, you had to, but the quick scrub is for the small stuff, and then you have your regular scrub, and then you can whip. Now, when I whip, most of the time, if I scrub, I use, you know, I throw both the sticks to the left or right before we leave the jump. That's kind of how you whip, or not whip, scrub. And when I whip, I use mostly the left stick. Just use the right stick to kind of control, you know, fine tune the whip or help bring it back sometimes. I mean, on the 252 stroke, I didn't really need to do it. Most of it could be controlled with the left stick, but yeah, I wish they could have the whip rotation in between the 252 stroke, excuse me, and the 450. I think that would be a good place for it. I get some of you guys are complaining and unhappy with the way the slipperiness is and the whip rotation, just the physics in general, but again, I have a decent amount of hours in the game. Probably, most likely, way more than you, and I just got used to it. I actually like the game and enjoy the way it's playing, but it takes time. So give it some time, try it out, let me know if it helps. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot, and until the next video, take it easy.